Tankers, welcome back, and today we're going to be taking a look at some of the different changes that are going to be implemented in patch 9.14. First things first, let's just look at the overview on the website that they're talking about. They've added a new physics. This is kind of the big thing everyone's talking about. You can now power slide and things like that. You can get turned over and stuff. The factors that make this a big deal for me are, for one, supposedly firing on the move is going to be a lot more accurate now. And two is that you're not going to get stuck on small terrain objects quite as much, and that just annoyed me to no end. So I think that's a good thing. And the cool thing is the sounds are going to be on a separate core, so if you have a multi-core processor, you're probably going to see a performance boost because all the sounds are not going to be processed on a second core, which is good to see. Part of the problem with this game is that it's not the most optimized since it only runs on one core, and it kind of looks like they're switching some of the as promised actually like a year ago. Now that I think about it, they're switching some of the other game mechanics to the other cores, which is cool. Apparently they're adding some missions to lower tiers. I never did those training things, so I couldn't really speak on that. Let's see what else. This is another thing. They're changing the map to where now you have circles that show the maximum draw distance at which you can actually see and shoot at enemy tanks, the maximum view range, which is 445 meters, and the current view range of your vehicle. And these are copy pasted directly from mods, but it's good to see that they're implementing stuff from, you know, the fan base and actually acknowledging that, you know, these things are useful to have. They're adding these vehicles for the super test, and I'm gonna go over these in their own separate videos once I get more information. They reworked 24 vehicles in HD quality, and we're about to take a look at that now. They also improved the visual models of some of the vehicles that already were in HD quality, which is a little interesting, and I'll talk about that. They added the Paris map to Domination. I know they kind of held back on that after the Paris attacks, and they didn't want it to be like in bad taste or whatever, and I guess they decided to go ahead and put it in now. They did a few UI changes and stuff like that. You can read all this, so whatever. I don't want to dwell on it too much. Here's some of the different things you can do with the handbrake now, with locking the tracks and stuff. One thing that was interesting is you can rock the hull back and forth and, you know, alter the angle at which you're going to get shot at. And also, the hull rocking no longer makes the gun move up and down, which is kind of good, since I've missed a lot of shots like that, but at the same time it's kind of bad for tanks that have bad gun depression. They kind of rock the hull back and forth and get a few more degrees just for a split second. You can't do that anymore. This talks about all the different maneuvers you can do, but we're going to look at that in the videos or whatever. Different sound effects, we're going to see that in the video. Anyways, let's go to the video. Alright, so here we are on the test server, so let's take a look around and see what we find. First off, they have kind of these little, almost like Easter eggs, and it kind of like tells you what's going on with the patch and what they're changing in this patch, so stuff you already know. Sounds are improved. Some of the stuff here I found interesting. This talks about how your tank's going to be a lot smoother crossing terrain, and gun stabilization will increase, it says, which will ensure more effective firing on the move. So I thought that would be interesting. That's probably going to be a great benefit to light tanks and also tanks that fire really well on the move, for example like the M48 Patton or the T62A and tanks of that nature. Now this talks about being careful about drifting and stuff like that, because you can turn over now and all the different moves you can do. You can pause it if you want to read it, but I mean, I don't think this is news to anyone, so like it's kind of a pretty hyped patch in terms of the changes for physics and everything. And this talks a little bit more about how you can use the handbrake to execute like J turns and power slides and handbrake turns and stuff like that. So that's some of an overview of some of the new stuff. Now let's look at some of the UI elements they've changed. They've changed the reserves here. You could actually kind of sort your reserves by which level they are, like how good they are. See, if you only want level 1 reserves, you can sort them like this, level 2. And you can do both at the same time, or all 3, or just one, whichever one you want. Also, say you want like experience reserves only, you can do it like that, or crew experience, or I think this is what, free experience, or credit reserves. So, you know, just a little UI update, not really a big deal, but it's nice to have. They've also changed the sound settings a little bit as well, because this patch is big on sound. And the biggest thing I noticed right here, and you can pause this, you can change the dynamic range from wider to narrower depending on what system you're using. And I thought it was cool that narrow range, like it says the difference between the loudest and quietest sounds is less noticeable, so you're not going to have as much issue of like you're driving or like you're camping in a bush and everything's quiet, then you fire a big gun and it just like wakes everyone in the room if you have like roommates to worry about or whatever, or family members. So I feel like that's a pretty cool thing they added. I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna like lose their shit over this, but it's good to know. And this is like more microphone settings if you want to voice chat with your platoon mates, but I think everyone uses TeamSpeak anyway, so I don't think that's really all that necessary. Another thing they've updated is you can, it's really small here, I'll just show you really quick. Say you want to upgrade your tank, and you can go to purchase right now and buy these things, or you can go back to categories and select more categories. So let's say like do Gadsden flag on our little MS1 here, and let's put a Soviet flag on the other side just for a little funny juxtaposition kind of thing, and then do that. And now when you buy all of them like this, it sorts them, I guess. I don't know, it was mentioned in the patch notes, so whatever, that's cool, I guess. Let's see what else. I think that's it for the UI elements. Oh, also so I heard through the grapevine that they have a big issue, Wargaming has a big issue with losing a lot of players, specifically at tier 1, because people get into the game and they're kind of overwhelmed by all this stuff. I know I was when I first started. I like tanks, so like I stuck to it, but they're kind of overwhelmed with all these upgrade options and all the different mechanics and stuff. So they've simplified, as you can see, they've simplified the mechanics at tier 1, but the upgrade options, I mean. But one thing I noticed is it kind of nerfs a lot of tanks. For example, like the T1 Cunningham, it used to get a 20mm Bisa or Besa, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, machine gun, or no, it was the Hispano Suiza, and it doesn't have that anymore. So I feel like partially what this has to do with is some people really do like to seal club in their tier 1s, and I think that also turns off people from the game. They're just new and they're getting seal clubbed and they're like, oh wow, I'm terrible at this, so they don't stick around as much. The LOL Tractor looks kind of buff though, because it had a stock gun that was really bad, and then you got this gun, and then you got this gun, but now you start off with this mid-level gun right away, and it seems like that's really like the better gun anyways to use on this, since it has more penetration. But whatever, I mean, people don't really stick around at tier 1 that much for the most part. But I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like some people are probably going to be upset. I know the T1 Cunningham's kind of got a place in the 7v7 format as sort of like your sacrificial lamb scout, so I don't know. But it's just good to know these things, I guess. Anyways, now let's look at the HD models, because we know that's what people want to see. So, and actually before we look at that, let's look at those upgraded models that I mentioned earlier. So the IS is one of them. I'm not really sure what they upgraded. It looks like this headlight wasn't here before, and it looks like this little hook thing wasn't here before either. I haven't driven it in ages. Like the last time I drove the IS, it was still in SD quality, and I drive the IS to Berlin because I have that, but it's a different skin kind of, so it's different. The SU100, I did notice some changes. I think this headlight's new. This little thing above the mantlet cover looks a little bit different. And I noticed this too. I think this track's different, and there's like a little PPSH 41 back here, which I thought was just so adorable. Look at how tiny it is, and it's kind of cool to see that. I'm not sure if this little hatchet was here either. No log and oh, there is a log. Never mind, there's a log. Gotta have your log. But I think this is kind of cool because it gives you like a sense of scale, because like people know what these little machine guns look like. If you've played a World War II game, it's like about the size of a person's waist or torso or something like that, and like it just shows you how big this thing really is scale wise, even though this is a pretty small tank for the game. So there's that. What else did they change? Let's see what other vehicles on my little cheat sheet here. The M4 Sherman's been upgraded as well. I think these headlights are new. It looks like they're upgrading headlights on all the older models. That seems to be like a recurring theme. And I think these little viewports are kind of more detailed now, and there's like a little handlebar or whatever. I did notice that with the stock turret, it has a cool little M250 cal up here, and I'm not sure if that was on there before or not. Again, I haven't played this tank in ages, so I don't remember, but I was a little bit disappointed that this secondary turret, the upgraded turret, doesn't get the 50 cal, and there's even like a little mounting point for it. I don't know why they didn't mount it on there. Maybe that's like a historical thing, or I don't know, maybe they'll add it later. I think machine guns are cool though, so they should definitely put more of those on there. And finally, my beloved Centurion Mark 7-1. Again, headlights. This has been changed a decent amount. There's headlights here now. I don't think this box was here, and I don't think this little rack for storing things was here. I definitely know these little viewports are enhanced because now they have like little hoods over them, and it kind of looks like they slide open as well. Maybe like the driver, the radio man, or they probably would be the driver because they drive on the different other side in England, UK, whatever. And I'm pretty sure these little binocs here are new. They weren't here. I think it was just this arch. But it's kind of cool that they're going back and changing some of the older HD models to look newer and more updated and stuff. I definitely like that. Now let's go back and look at the actual new HD models. Starting with Mother Russia, we have the MS-1. No one really cares. I mean, it's a tier 1. It's not even like one of the it's not even one of the Steel Clubby tier 1, so I don't think it's gonna matter. It does. One thing that I noticed was interesting. These tracks look really weird. It's almost like they're supposed to like scoop the dirt up, and it goes in these little depressions in the tracks. But I mean, whatever. Just a little cool thing to look at, not really to play so much. Here you got the 820. I might go back and revisit this tank. Not particularly exciting, but it is at least. They're getting around to the low tiers and HDing them. We already saw that. The IS-6, I think this is going to be a popular change. It's in HD now, and I think it looks pretty awesome. Definitely kind of overdue with this one since it was a very popular, well, it is a very popular premium tank. Now, was that everything? Yeah, now let's look at Germany. We have the T25. It's the same as the Czech T25, except it's gray instead of brown, you know, woohoo, whatever. The VK 3001H, another low tier heavy tank, different turrets, etc. I mean, it looks cooler, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really enjoy this tank super a lot when I was playing it. Now you have the Nashorn. Come on, zoom out. There we go. It looks cool. Probably won't be seeing too much of it because the whole point of this tank is to like hide in the bushes, but it's definitely cool, especially if you're driving one. The E25 I think is going to be a popular change as well because a lot of people have these, especially on the North American server, where they kind of had an event where you could get one super easily, and that's actually how I got mine. And yeah, now I think we'll be seeing a lot more of these. And the GW Tiger, the Clicker, the Scumbag class. It looks good. There's cool little details in there. I think these little storage bins are like the little backpacks the Germans wore in World War II. I definitely seen them in like Saving Private Ryan and shit like that. And I don't know what this little satellite dish thing is. I'm sure someone in the comments can tell me. Cool little detail here on the muzzle brake. You can see these little indentations. I'm assuming that's for like a tool that you mount on there to remove the muzzle brake off the barrel. Another cool little detail here, I see the exhaust pipes are at the front because the engine's probably at the front as well. And you can see there's kind of like little burn marks from the exhaust, which is just like a nice little detail. So pretty cool stuff. Now let's look at Merca. We already looked at the Sherman. The T20 has gone into HD. I've never really found this to be a super good looking tank, I guess, at least the turret anyway, but I think this will breathe some life back into this tank. It used to be like probably the best tier 7 medium before, the Chinese and the Czech tanks showed up with their 100mm guns, but I think this will kind of breathe some life back into it. Maybe there's some hidden buffs in the HD model. I'll have to check that out later. T1 Heavy, a lot of people drive these. I think it looks cooler now. I personally skipped this tank because I already had the E2 Jumbo and I just wanted to get the T29 as fast as possible, so that's what I did. And let's see what it looks like with the upgraded turret. Oh, another thing I noticed about the sounds, listen to this. See how it kind of fades out when you're like in the UI? I'm just gonna shut up for a second. I don't think that was there before. I think that's new. And listen to this, the button presses kind of have echoes now. Is it just me or is that new as well? That seems new. But anyway, here's what it looks like upgraded. I'm a little concerned about this right here though. It looks like a straight up hole in the armor, and I wonder if that's gonna be a weak spot now. Cause I like I said, I never drove the T1, but I recall trying to shoot at this area on the older model and usually not going through because it looks like there's like a thickened piece of armor there. So I don't know if that's gonna be a massive weak spot now. If I find out, I'll definitely let you know. And there's some cool little, I don't even know what these are at the front. It looks like hydraulic pipes or something. Or maybe they're tripods. I'm not sure, but there's all sorts of junk on it now, so cool stuff. You know, they definitely do a good job with these HD models, so got little tools in the back here and everything. I think it looks cool. T40, I definitely enjoyed this when I was grinding through the tank destroyers at first, so looks cool to me. Here's a big change. T28 prototype, you notice it has a roof now, and I think this is going to be kind of an indirect buff to it because no longer can artillery just drop shells into it and do full damage and wreck your entire crew and all your modules. So I'm fairly close to getting this. I'll be pretty excited, and obviously, as you might expect, you can actually put improved vents on it now. I'm not going to because I'm probably not going to play it, but that probably is going to be a buff as well because now with the vents you can add 5%, and I'm assuming they didn't like nerf all the stats of it to make up for the fact that it was open topped and like the crew could supposedly breathe easily, and now they have these things. So I think it's probably going to be a pretty decent buff and make this tank a lot more interesting to play. Fear of the clicker orientation, M44 looks good now. I'll be honest, they started playing a lot more arty so I can do the missions and get like the T55A and the object and everything, and this is a really fun arty. It has, well, I mean, whatever, we'll talk about that later. So here's another HD model, the M5553. It looks like the Americans are getting a lot of the HD treatment in terms of artillery this patch, and kind of in the last few patches anyway. I'm not sure what this is, this little thing here, but whatever. Now for the French, the tier 10 Foch 155 is in HD now. Another thing with the Foch, it does have pretty significant pieces of track on both of the sides of the side armor, and if I know anything about how they do the HD models, that's going to be thicker now, so maybe it's going to be like a slight buff to the side armor. Like if you happen to hit there instead of right here, it's probably going to be a little bit thicker, maybe at an angle or something. I don't know, probably not going to make much of a difference, but every little bit helps with this terrible side armor. Kind of a plain looking model if you ask me, but I mean, I don't know, these tanks were never really lookers in my opinion, but it's decent looking enough, I can't complain. The Lefay, this is actually one of the funner arty to play in the game just because it doesn't take forever to aim and reload, and I think this is a nice little HD model. This is definitely a welcome change. And I think a lot more people are going to start playing their little Lefay artillery. What else? For the UK, we've already saw the Mark 7 one. Actually, hold on. I think... what else did we get? The AT-15's been upgraded as well. So here you go. This is the new AT-15. I'll put the let's put the good gun on there. That's how it looks with the Type B barrel. Looks cool. Not too much different for the AT-15A, so I'd imagine they didn't have to do too much work on this particular tank model. Insufficient load capacity, whatever. It doesn't really matter. The Crusader has been upgraded as well. Pretty cool. I like this tank. This is one of the mid-low tiers that I like to play, so I definitely think this is a good change. Nothing new for China or Czechoslovakia. Japan got a bunch of low tiers upgraded, like this. What is this? The Kenny. I mean, whatever. I've heard these little light tanks are fun, so I'm sure there's someone that's going to be excited about this. Same with the Chinu. Or Chini, sorry. And the Chiha. Got little exhaust pipes on the back here. I'm not sure what this is. What is that? Oh well. And the Chinu finally gets upgraded as well. Hopefully this means that the Chinu Kai, the premium, is going to be upgraded to HD soon, because it's basically the same HD model. I'm honestly not sure why they even didn't do them in the same patch, but looking forward to that. I do feel like they should probably upgrade the premium tanks first, just because like people are probably going to be driving them a lot if they have them to grind credits, so it helps to like have a tank that you enjoy looking at while you're driving it a lot. So good news for this, I guess. Oh, and one more thing, they also upgraded the VK7201, which is kind of that shoe tank crossed with a low lava looking tank. That's one of the clan reward tanks. If you have that one, good for you. I don't have that one, but that's going to be in HD now. And finally, the Sexton 2, the premium British artillery. I don't have that either. I couldn't find it on the test server. I guess you had to have had it already, but that one's also going into HD, so if you have one of those, you know, good for you. Go drive it and blow shit up.